Welcome to the Secure Your Energy Show. I'm your host, Michael Gibson. Secure Your Energy Show is where we have real live conversation with real life people. Today we have a great show. We have a wonderful guest. Her name is Renee Donaldson from EcoDirect, about solar and storage planning and building for the average consumer. I'm going to bring Renee on the screen and she can introduce herself to everybody.
Hello, Renee Donaldson, CEO and partner of EcoDirect. Glad to be on the show today.
Thank you for joining us. I feel very privileged and I feel very honored to, have such wonderful guests. And we're going to just get started. Let me bring the topic up. Let me put it on the screen so everybody know what we're talking about. But Renee, you gave tell people a little bit about yourself.
So I've been working in solar for the past 10 years, and really it's become both a passion and a career of mine. With EcoDirect, started as our first commission salesperson, and from there became our GM and to our CEO, and it's been a wonderful ride. Really, it's still exciting, and there's lots of new developments within the industry, and we have a great team of people here that make it just a true pleasure to work within the industry, and then just to come in every day and help our customers both educate themselves and get what they need for their energy independence.
Thank you. Sorry for the small pause there. I had to make a little bit of adjustment, but this is the beauty of being live streamed.
I thought it was on my end.
No, I had to make a little commercial adjustment. So
Okay.
I wanted to make that adjustment while you were speaking so that, they wouldn't see the costume change like I'm Vanna White somewhere, or, making a little show change. But again, this is what I do. I love talking live. I love being flexible. This is a topic that we wanted to discuss today: solar and storage building and planning for the average consumer. As Renee said, she's had quite a bit of experience in the solar industry. So I'm very excited to get, along with the topic. So the first question that I wanted to ask you was, what is the best way to build a solar plus storage system over time if all the funds are not readily available up front? Or would you prefer not to finance? What is the best way to build that system?
Well, a lot of our customers are looking at solar and storage immediately. So that's something that's been really popular, mainly because of a lot of the electricity parities and some of the power just interrupted, like we saw over in Texas. So when you're planning a storage system, you want to have the end goal in mind first. So even if you're going to do it in stages, knowing what the end result is going to be is going to help you long term. So you can do that in a variety of different ways. But really, speaking with somebody that's educated about the different types of applications is going to be a really instrumental part, as well as doing your own research, especially if you're going to be building it yourself.
So when you say have an end game in mind, if I'm a homeowner, what does that really mean when you say have an end game in mind?
You want to take a look at your total consumption and what you're using on a monthly, yearly basis over time. And if you are looking at incorporating storage, what's the purpose for that? So is it for backup power? Is it for peak demand offset? Or is it just because you're getting an electric vehicle, and if the power does go down, you want to be able to drive to the store to get milk or groceries, whatever you need to do.
So if I'm going to get my energy consumption, how and where does the average person find this information?
It's a great question, Michael. You can look at your utility bill. So oftentimes it'll give you that real-time data. It'll show you in a graph what your usage is throughout the year. It'll give you your daily kilowatt hour usage in most instances. So you can see what your average usage is, as well as your peak and low usage periods throughout the year. And it's really important to provide realistic expectations, both from a design standpoint and then for the customer. What is it that they're looking to back up for that amount of time? And is the system that they're going to install going to be able to provide that amount of power?
Yeah, I find that a lot of people, when they go into solar plus storage, and my company, we focus on the storage end of it, but that is probably the hardest thing, is to nail down what someone is looking to add to their system. Because many times people always say to me, this is the size of my house. What type
Yeah.
of system do I need? And I think to myself, well, what are you looking to power up? Are you looking just to power, your refrigerator? Are you looking to power up your air conditioner, your water pump? That type of information is so critical when designing a system and knowing, what your goals are. So that's a great answer by you. The next question that I wanted to ask was, let's see here. When considering installing solar, should you be adding storage immediately, or do many people opt to get the grid tie going first and purchase the storage once they recoup their initial investment?
Well, that is a great question. So it really depends on the amount of funds that you have available at that time and how critical it is for you to be able to have the backup power initially. So if you're in an area like in California where we're located, and the power is subject to shut down during fire season, uh, then it's going to be more critical for you to have storage on the onset versus adding it later. But you can do both. And so a multifaceted approach is sometimes the best way to go about it, because it will give you some versatility in both the finance or cash side of the purchase, as well as the design and the actual production that you'll get from it. Uh, Even to our previous topic of building it in stages, that you can provide realistic expectations that this system will back up your fridge, freezer, lights, versus this system all depends on how critical those loads are, and pulling those out and letting your design specialist know is going to be one of the most important parts of the process.
So if I'm kind of preparing to go with a battery up front, or I want to plan to have a battery, I'm down the line, what type of stuff would someone need to consider? Because I know there are solar inverters, and then I know there are hybrid inverters. So if someone is looking to kind of pre-plan that, would they need to decide on the loads with the critical load panel? Should they uh, make space in their home? I'm like, what type of considerations, if someone was really pre-planning and they wanted to wait for the latter end of that? What does that look like?
Getting something that is going to be battery ready. So there are a lot of hybrids that will allow you to do so you can have grid tie now and system at a later date. There's a lot of ways that you can do that. So there's flexible storage solutions for a variety of them. What we've done is provide them with those expectations up front. So if they're not really sure, we'll give them, here's the option with storage today, and this is what it'll back up. And then if you wanted to wait on that, here's the grid type portion. And, in a few months or in a year, you can just put in this battery system and it'll perform exactly how you want to. But breaking it down like that is really important, because it's one of the largest purchases a homeowner will make. It's your house, your car, your PV system. So we take a more holistic approach to the design, where we're taking into account, their total system. So do they have EV vehicles? Are they already using energy efficiency appliances? Are they going to be in their home long term? Are they planning on having a growing family? So there are quite a few considerations, and usually it results in having a deeper conversation with the customer, and you take more time to do that. But it's imperative to really delve in and find out what their goals are. So not only are they going to be happy with the system, but it's going to perform how they want it to and they need it to. And then ideally they'll tell their friends and family, and we'll continue to help and educate our customers as we move forward.
So the key word that I got of everything you said is communication. It seems like
Yeah.
if you want to have a great system, if you want to be able to design a system, you really have to start communicating, and you have to start mapping out, because as you said, these pieces of equipment, they're not inexpensive. They are definitely an investment that one has to consider, because the solar system comes with a value, and then you have the storage that comes with a value. And one thing that I do like to say is that, energy storage does provide a level of peace of mind that you will be able to use that energy at a later date. If, like you said, Texas, ice storms like in my area, or even hurricanes down in Florida, those are the type of the reasons why one would, want to consider the energy storage aspect of it. Now, just on the same lines that we were kind of talking about, when someone is, deciding up front, they kind of picked out their loads, they know what they want to have. Now it's like, okay, I want to move ahead with storage, or at least they're thinking in their mind. What are the critical design considerations you should be aware of when integrating solar and storage into a system?
Compatibility is number one, and that your PV system is not oversized for that storage system itself. You're not filling up a sand bucket with a fire hose, so to speak. A lot of the times in solar, we're using water analogies because a lot of people can resonate with that. And it is important to make sure that you're not oversizing as well as undersizing. There's a lot of information that we provide to our customers up front through our website and through our newsletter to help educate them on the sizing and design. So not only do they don't always have to talk to one of our sales reps, but it can be helpful. And then, of course, providing that information online. But you want to make sure that really you take a look at your usage. Make sure that the system that you're putting on the roof is going to be properly sized, and then depending on your loads, put that in line. With inverters to battery, with lithium batteries, they have their BMS system, so their battery management system that does use communication, and that is one of the most integral components for making sure that your inverter system is going to actually operate, and providing the state of charge for that battery system is going to not only extend the lifetime of that battery and your storage application, but it will perform better and just work more efficiently when it's meant to, when the communications are in line.
So when they're meant to be together, it'll be
when they're meant to, the synergy of it.
Yeah, it'll be a happy bonding experience versus an unhappy bonding experience, because as you said, just designing the system properly. My background, I come from power distribution side of things, and many times when a homeowner, their circuit breaker would trip, the first thing they would say is, there's something wrong with my circuit breaker. And it's like, no, it's supposed to trip. And that's kind of like the same thing the battery management system does with a battery. The battery managed system talks to the inverter, and it is designed to protect the battery. So if the system shuts down, normally something is not, sized properly normally is the number one issue. Maybe there's too much inrush from the inverter, things of that nature. So the battery management system is going to do what it's designed to do. So communication. It's key.
100%.
100%.
It is key. And I think there's a lot of misconception with people. They're finding less expensive lithium batteries online through a variety of different sources. And not that they're bad batteries, they're most of them are just fine. But there's no communication from the inverter system that they're using with the batteries. And so it's not going to operate as well as if it did. And that information, from what we hear from our customer base, isn't as well known. And so I think really educating people that, lithium batteries, while they are more efficient and can charge faster, discharge faster for your loads, it is an integral part to make sure that it's going to work with your system, not just that it's a less expensive lithium battery that you can just drop in like a typical lead acid.
Right. So I haven't been in too many successful relationships where I didn't talk to the other party. So again, I'm just going to say it for the people that need to rehear it. It's so important to understand when you're designing a system that everything can communicate one to the other, because that does extend the life of the battery. I mean, part of it getting more bang for your buck, if that's a proper word, is making sure that you are utilizing the batteries in a proper manner. Now, this wasn't one of our questions that we talked about, but since you're on the show, since I want to give you a shameless plug, tell us a little bit about EcoDirect before we even move forward. Tell us a little bit about your company.
EcoDirect is a renewable energy retailer. So we have an e-commerce website. It's ecodirect.com. You can shop and take a look at all of our different products. We have several different applications that we use a lot. There's a lot of education information on there. And we take a consultative sales approach. So our main driver is our team. So we take a lot of pride in making sure that not only are our customers able to purchase the components and get them in a timely fashion, but they're purchasing the right components for their application. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, this is not actually what you need. You really should be getting this. So it's a consultative approach that we take, and we do take a lot of pride in it. And right now, solar and storage has been at the forefront. So we are just really excited to be helping our customers with their energy independence. And it's been great. We have a wonderful team here.
Well, I'm glad that you got to tell me a little bit about your company, because you were alluding to it and you were being a little bashful. You wasn't telling us all the good stuff. So I wanted to make sure that
well, we're solar and storage design specialists. So we take care of the permitting plans for our customers, as well as making sure that, again, they get all the right parts. We ship it to them. We make sure that any questions that they have on getting their system approved, whether it's a grid tie battery backup, complete off-grid standalone applications. We specialize in the DIY. So if somebody is looking to install it themselves, a lot of the times that's going to be somebody that has a contractor or electrical background that feels comfortable getting up on the roof and dealing with electrical. We can help them really get their project off the ground. I've done installations myself, and with that type of experience, we're really able to guide them appropriately. So that's one of the reasons it sets us apart from some of our competitors in the industry, and we do have some really good ones. So it's a growing market. There's still a lot of opportunity out there for solar. We've barely scratched the surface. So we're gonna continue on that path.
So hold up. I gotta ask you another question. You installed a system yourself. You just full of surprises. The more we talk, I keep getting a little bit more surprises, because I'm not getting on nobody's roof. I'm not about that life. I like to be on the ground. You know what I mean? I want to be on the ground. So that's very impressive. Sorry for the little minor distraction right there. But
It's great. I loved it, and I mean, it's my parent, my dad, and my brother both work in construction, so I'm used to working with tools. But I volunteered with Grid Alternatives a few times. They had a big push for women in solar, and so it was great to work with them on a couple different projects. And I volunteered over in Peru to do that too. So for some off-grid
Wow.
systems. And I think really that level of experience does bode well for educating both our team and our customer base. And now with things opening back up, I think our team internally too is looking forward to, getting some firsthand experience because it does make a difference when you're telling customers, no, this is how drill the lag bolt down into the roof and find your rafters, and this is how it all is assembled. And it just it's not that it's not difficult, but I think you can really break it down that it's a doable project. This is something that you can undertake, and people should feel confident in with the knowledge that not only we provide, but other companies like us help them understand the system components and how everything flows together. It is a project that they can take on.
So you really know soup to nuts when you guys are designing a system. So that's like the solar panel, that's even the racking for the solar panel, the
Yes.
inverter. So you everything. That's awesome. That
Yeah.
is that's impressive. I help you design your storage. We have people that can do that too, but my specialty is these things sitting over here, the battery, that battery, that battery. That's my specialty. That's why we have people like Renee to kind of come in and do what they do. So let's go with our next question here.
And our team, though,
And
our
your
team
team.
is instrumental.
Yes,
They
yes, yes.
wouldn't be the same without them.
Yes, we need a team because somebody has to answer calls, somebody has to send emails, somebody actually has to design, and obviously somebody has to go out. So yes, definitely a team. We're nothing without our team, myself included. Fortress Power, we have a wonderful team. The next question that I wanted to ask is, what options are available for adding battery backup for an existing system, or can I get a battery backup system without getting solar?
Those are both great questions, and yes, on both. So you can do what's called AC coupling, and it's become a lot easier nowadays to do that. In the past, years ago, it wasn't as seamless, mainly for the shifting of the power and reducing your production when your storage system was getting fully charged. But now a lot of that communication has been developed and has been streamlined. So a variety of systems out there will allow you to do that. Really, you just want to make sure that, again, from a compatibility standpoint and communications, that your existing AC system is going to work well and play nice with the hybrid inverter system that you put in. But there's several solutions that have really come to market that have been making it so much easier. You just want to make sure that the sizing is correct on that. And for part two, you can have a backup system without solar. And it is becoming more popular in places where you don't want the generator to be running every time the utility goes out, but maybe you have a lot of trees and you're just not in an area that you can actually get solar. So it's a little bit different than a UPS system, but the transfer time has been increasing significantly. So you're able to, sometimes you won't even see the lights flicker, and you can put in a pretty modest system for I'll ballpark it, but for most loads, including even a well pump for maybe like $8,000 to $12,000 without solar, and that may seem like a lot. It is a lot, but again, it depends on those loads that you want to back up, and oftentimes it's worth that investment if you can't afford to have the lights turn off. If you've got a family or a farm, you need your well pump, you have animals. There's a lot of reasons that you're going to make that investment.
So again, I gotta ask another question because that's what you do. You open the door and I gotta ask another question. So you mean to tell
Yes.
me that as a homeowner or a business, I could have energy storage, aka solar battery, without solar panels? I really can do that.
That's correct. So it's actually pretty simple. You'd have your sub panel or your critical load panel, and you'd wire that to your hybrid inverter system, which would be wired to your battery bank. And so it basically is just pulling a little bit of power from the utility grid to keep your batteries charged and not backfeed your energy storage system to the utility. So that would be counterintuitive, but it'll be on standby. And as soon as that power disappears from the grid, so the AC frequency goes away, then it's going to kick on and then power those loads that are connected to that panel.
Okay, so you mentioned AC couple
Mhm.
solution. What is the other way to add the battery? What is the other solution?
Yeah, well, you could have a charge controller too. A lot of the higher voltage, like a standard string inverter that has a DC input, you can put a transfer, and as soon as the utility goes out, you could manually transfer it. That's a little bit more of a cost-effective solution, very doable. You still need a hybrid inverter, but you would take that high voltage DC input from that string, use a high voltage charge controller, and there are several on the market, and then connect that to a battery bank, which then would be connected to a hybrid inverter system. It You do have some losses with AC coupling, but it does make it easier, oftentimes, to add storage when you have an existing system. I like the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, for if you have an existing system that's operating and maybe you just got it a year or two ago, even a little bit longer, oftentimes you can put it with a hybrid inverter system, battery bank connected to your sub panel, and your system will continue to feed power back to the grid, power your loads as it currently does. Only now that in the event of a power outage, it'll go ahead and charge your batteries and then power those critical loads that are connected.
So if I have a AC couple system, it's easier to integrate it because I'm connecting on the AC side of the an alternated current side of the system at your panel. Now you have direct current DC coupled solutions. So are they primarily for new installs then? Or can you do an existing DC coupled system?
You can do an existing DC coupled system, and again, that's the charge controller aspect, or even potentially replacing your inverter. It really depends. If your inverter is new and your goal is to continue to have a net metered system, so you're offsetting your consumption. If you have excess power, you're pushing it back to the grid, and then at night you're pulling from the utility. Keeping that system as it is just going to make more sense, both from a financial standpoint as well as just a design. But really, if you're losing power regularly, and it's something that's a lot more consistent, maybe it's more than a few times a month, and it's during critical times where you can't afford to have the power go down, especially with more people working from home. That's becoming more and more common. So it might be one of those scenarios where maybe you do get rid of the standard string inverter that you have, or even a microinverter system. But AC coupling, I'd say, it's more popular for retrofits because you don't have the conversion losses for a new system. If it's new, then just DC to AC is going to be, or excuse me, so DC to your battery bank, and then AC to power your loads is going to be, you're going to see less losses, and it's just going to be an easier setup and installation.
So so you have two options. You can DC couple, you can AC couple. Each one of them have their advantages, pros and cons to doing them.
Mhm.
I highly recommend still doing solar with energy storage if you're going to do it. Make a way because my personal opinion is that grid independence is just it's good to have it. If you've already got the panels, making way for the energy storage just seems, a good way to complete the system. Now, this is one question that I get asked a lot.
Hmm.
I take a lot of homeowner calls, and this is a hot button right here. Is lithium really worth the added cost? And what is the best battery for my system?
So that's a great question. I mean, it depends. If you're going to be using it every day, then 100%. It's like with a smartphone. If you have a smartphone, you have all the apps that and all the widgets on it, and you're using it every day. Then yes, having a smartphone is worth it. But if you're only going to make direct calls, maybe you don't need all those bells and whistles. And so I would say that for lithium, it's designed to be discharged every day and then recharged. It's very efficient, and so it'll charge fast, it'll discharge fast, so you can use a lot of the times at least 80% of the total rated capacity, and it's going to last longer oftentimes, but. Lead acid is a strong solution still, in my opinion, for some of those backup applications. If you're using it infrequently, a couple times a year, and you're not relying on it every day, then you can probably have a much more economical system with a lead acid. Uh, but with lithium, you're looking at the long term. So if you're going to be using it, like I said, every day, and you really want to be able to rely on your system, the price per kilowatt hour has actually it's very advantageous, and oftentimes will allow you to have a smaller physical space for those batteries because they take up less room. So that's a big design consideration as well.
So when you have lithium versus your lead acid, you can save some of the footprint, but the upfront cost is a little bit more expensive. So a lot has to do with that word we talk about. It's that little C word that we don't like to use, the communication. So if you discuss that in the beginning, your level of expectations, what you are trying to accomplish, then that determines if it's worth it for you. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask this. When you look at, the lithium batteries, there are two different, lithium chemistries that dominate the market. You have the lithium ferrophosphate, the lithium nickel magnesium cobalt. Um, I'm assuming that you've actually worked with both of these type of chemistries. Do you see any real differences between them? Have you noticed anything with your consumers and hearing back any feedback on the different lithium chemistries?
A lot of the times, not as much as they're calling out like the specific chemistry. That's um, some of them will, but for the most part, just making sure that the placement is going to be where it makes sense. So are we putting it outside, or are we putting it in the garage? So that's come up quite a bit more versus the chemistry. I think we use more of the former, so the lithium ferrophosphate, lithium iron phosphate batteries. um, but no, the magnesium cobalt doesn't actually come up that much for us. To be honest, it's just not something that at least our customers are not bringing up as much.
Okay. And then my last question for today, at least I think it's going to be my last question
All right.
for today. So, in the 10 years that you've been involved in solar, what is some of the surprising changes for the good that you've seen? And where do you think, or where do you hope to see solar going since you've been doing this for some time? Where would you like to see it? And then what are some of the changes that you've seen? And it doesn't have to be limited to batteries, just overall, what have you seen change since you first started, to now?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I've always been interested in storage from the get-go. That was just where my main interest lied, and still does, because having energy independence and a way to store that power is critical, in my opinion. It's one thing to produce power, offset your bill. But the utilities, as we're continuing to saturate more of the grid with our own generation, it's going to become an integral part. And that's one of the biggest changes that I've seen in the industry. And it's super exciting because storage is now an integral part. It's solar and storage. It's not just solar, which years ago, 6, 7 years ago, that's all it was for the most part, for us at least in our industry. It was either you had a completely off-grid system, which we did design at that time, or you had a grid tie system. And now they've really started to synergize. So it's both, and you're seeing a lot of the storage now being put into residential and commercial applications, and that just is super exciting. We're going to continue on that track. So moving forward throughout the industry, and that's just going to become more prevalent. I think we'll end up seeing less grid tie only systems, and we're going to see more grid tie plus storage options. And eventually it'll become similar to Hawaii, where you're no longer able to push power back to the grid. So one of the biggest changes that I see upcoming, and fast forwarding 5-10 years down the road, is that everyone's going to have storage if you're going to have solar. So again, very exciting, and people should be aware that net metering will continue to change and evolve as well. So in San Diego, where we're based in Carlsbad, California, we're in San Diego County, we're already in SDG&E 2.0. So they're buying it back at a lower rate than they did in 1.0. And so we're going to continue to see that. The utilities want to get paid as well. So if I had any advice to offer our consumers, both from a residential and commercial standpoint, it would be to get your permit applications in now for your net metering agreement. If you plan on interconnecting with the utility, then there's no better time than the present. Really, because that's what's subject to change more drastically than even the federal tax credit, which is really important to have as well. But even more important is being able to get your net metering application in with the utility first.
So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Energy storage. Energy storage is
Yes.
the future, and it is the present. So if you're
100%,
if you're considering buying, a solar system, you probably should really consider future-proofing your system so that you can add storage or just add it, all together up front. And as you stated, Renee, it is an exciting time to be in storage because there's just so much happening, so many different developments from all the many different manufacturers that are really looking just to elevate their game and add a value to the consumer. And for me personally, what I like about the solar market has just been such a breath of fresh air where you have people really innovating. Like I haven't seen this much innovation before in a market in my previous job. Like we made changes, but they weren't really leaps and bounds. I've seen so many leaps and bounds, in my opinion, in the solar field, where it's like, wow, this really is a different, brand new product that is really going to benefit consumers. And that's one of the exciting things for me about being in this business. I'm going to give you an opportunity to say whatever you would like to say in closing.
All right. Well, it is a great time to be in solar, and thank you, Michael, for the opportunity to be on the show. We love working with Fortress. It's a great solution, and it's been extremely vital for a lot of our customers and applications. Very versatile. So if you're interested, for any of our customers that may be listening, definitely give us a call or send an email anytime. We have a great sales staff here, customer service. Everyone is really working towards a common goal of making sure that our customers are getting exactly what they need and achieving their energy goals. So with that in mind, solar and storage, it is the way to go. And we're happy to talk with you about it and give you all the information you need.
Renee, thank you for being such a wonderful guest, and I do appreciate you sharing your knowledge. And I think I'm gonna have to bring you back again because you hitting home. She's hitting home runs, ladies and gentlemen. She is hitting home runs.
Oh, shucks.
And
Well,
I
thank you. It's been a lot of fun, and I would definitely come back. And if anyone wanted to jump in and do some very specific design, I do love talking shop. As well as handling some of the administrative. I definitely do work with our design and our sales team to make sure that we're continuing to innovate as well. So ecodirect.com and let me know when you want to dive back into that, and I'd be happy to come back on board.
Well, everybody, you have been watching the Secure Your Energy Show. I am your host, Michael Gibson. If you would like to be a part of our show, please visit bit.ly/Secure Your Energy Show, and you can sign up, or you can contact us directly at sales@Fortress Power. Secure Your Energy Show airs bi-weekly at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. In addition, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel because we are looking to bring more content and bring more people on. Because we really want to elevate the conversation on renewable energy and solar storage. But as always, you guys know what to do. Have a great day.